literally I'm more keen into filmmaking and direction. So yeah, that's me. I've been in Australia for like 15 years. I love creativity.
That's it, brother.
Come on, man.
Oh, she has a blazer. We're blazing fire here. This is why we call it the blazing fire. Because two of us, whenever we together, we always blazing ideas, blazing
Always.
bounces, you know. Anyway, since you want me to go first, I'll do it. My name is Albert Mambo, and I'm originally from Uganda, and I've only been in Australia since January 2012, so about 7 years. And since I came to Australia, I've been involved in acting. I love, the creativity and the arts. I've been doing acting, and I've done a few small good things now and then, And I love dancing. I do dancing for, some artists as well as dance, their videos and all that. And I'm hoping to break into some, modeling stuff as well, which I haven't got the chance to.
My guy.
But, I would love to break into that. And through my two blazing brothers, I'm also trying to learn how to do script writing and, production, all that stuff. So that's why we're here, blazing around.
My name is Mukuna Ken, and I've been doing a lot of writing since I can remember, since my high school years, because I used to do a lot of poetry writing, and English was actually one of my favorite subjects, and history, and I started doing some reading and writing, and in 2008. Moving toward 2009, I actually, because a couple of friends of mine, we actually put our short stories together, and we produced a book called Beyond the Dark Journey, and that was back in New Zealand. So we did that. So after high school, I went to film school, stage and screen. So I did 4 years, and I got a degree out of it. Yeah, and my creativity never stopped, so I'm always writing and also always looking ways to learn new things. And also I've been doing some ancient studies, so it's something that if we ever get a little more further,
we have to get into it.
We'll do some elaboration on that later on. But yeah, so I'm actually excited for this because it's something that my spirit has been longing for it for the last week or two since we actually set everything in motion.
Yeah,
then we just start being messaging each other back and forth, talking about podcasts, talking how it's just So you can see right now, I'm actually happy for this.
Alright.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, before we even let go, I'd like to do that. Alright, cool.
You don't have to come,
we will get to that. So yeah, anyway, and last week we said that before we dive into this podcast, without even acknowledging our own story, acknowledging our own ancestors, also acknowledging our own individual tribe, and also to kind of give a voice and give a platform. And hopefully this platform is going to be that. And before we even go further, we would like to just tell you guys a little bit about us and where we come from, and just be with us. Through these stories, you probably learn one or two about our home, about the food, the clothes that we eat. But I'm not gonna explain all of that. So the first question that I'm gonna throw to all of us, what's home mean, and what is the first memory?
Damn. You had to go there.
I know. It's
yes, Mark, that's yours.
So to me, home to me because the family, the root, and the richness that, because coming up and to be able to move elsewhere and go and learn some other cultures, it gives you some ways of looking back saying that, man, I miss my culture. Even to this, like now, whenever I go home, the music that I always put on, even Alvin can witness this. I always listen to South Sudanese music, period. Like I will listen to it literally just watching videos, and because it gives me that sense of feel back. Like when I went back home in 2018, or 2019, just to be able to go back to where I was born and just sit there under those trees and to be able to just soak in, you know, the fresh air, the plays that you missed for so long. I felt like I didn't want to leave, and the spirit is just, I felt so welcome, and home to me, it means like, it's a sense of belonging, and also I don't think there's an actual word for it to actually say that, you know, to actually explain what the home to me means. Like home to me is a sense of belonging and give you that sense of gravity to just gravitate to. There's so much that I could say, like we can actually go on for.
Okay, yeah. So what are the two things, if there's so much, what are the two things that you could just, apart from music, that you miss about home? Two things.
Language, food, and people.
Oh.
It's about 3 things. We asked for 2, but we have an extra. Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much more. Wow.
Oh my
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, like sense of belonging, it's a huge thing that sometimes when you sense it, and language, it's amazing. Like even though we kind of like speaking English at the moment, it doesn't taste right, it doesn't feel right, but we just have to roll with the punches as if like because we live in this great land that's been stolen for many generations. But we will get into it. So Albert, for you.
Hey, don't look at me like that. For me it's, home means, for me it's, I can't even find the words to describe it, because I'm someone who grew up in a very extended family, on my mother's side, like I'm the only child, but when I tell people that I don't look like the only child, because apparently the only child are normally spoiled and all that, but I am not, because I grew up with possibly one home with the 50 other different cousins at the same time, where you just have each other. And I grew up also, one thing that makes me miss home the most is the Australian culture, where everyone is in their homes, inside, like neighbors, you barely say hi to neighbors. But where, what makes me home is like I can go eat at my uncle's place, neighbor's place, or anything. Whenever I'm hungry, I'm always welcome. I'm welcome to do anything, If I'm not home, they're happy to look after my home or anything. And then the other things, like you said, food, I miss the food. Food is just like I remember when I went there at the end of 2018.
Yeah, where did you go?
I went to Uganda, I was flying from here to there. I was so nervous, I felt so sick, and I felt like, I don't know, I was just feeling weird. But then I felt so drained out and all that. But then I flew, from here to Dubai, and then from Dubai to Entebbe airport. But for some reason, soon as we literally we're in the air, but soon as we just passed the border of, South Sudan to enter into Uganda, bro, I just got like a kick in, like some energy kicked in inside me out of nowhere. And then out of nowhere, I was just like so excited, so pumped, and then some older guy who was sitting next to me is like, how straight away asked me, like, how long have you been out of the country? He's like, maybe about 7 years now. He's like, no wonder why. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I noticed you since we left Dubai, you were quiet, like you had so many things going through your mind, but then out of nowhere, as soon as we crossed the border, like you just had some, you know, energy kicked in you. I can see the excitement, and you know, it's like feeling home. I was like, that's what I want, you know. That's what I wanted, that's what I've been missing. And the life there is everyone's welcoming, everyone's friendly, you know, you just, I don't know, it's just so great. It's like a sense of belonging, and there's one saying, you know, it's a family too, you know, thinking of the family, and over there, like, and I miss the life, you know, I grew up like kids. We don't have phones, we don't have PlayStations, the kids are so happy. You literally look at them, you go like, man, I miss this life, honestly. Like some days when I was in the village, I literally turned my phone off, you put it far away from me. You just want to enjoy that like natural connect with everyone without the phone. It's just like, yeah, it was great.
Oh wow. Yeah, man. Well, home for me, or first of all, home for me is divided into two. I've got the South Sudanese part and then the Sudanese part. So I grew up in the Sudanese part, that I call home. And then we left, I think I was 7, you know what I mean, to Egypt. Grew up there, never connected, you know what I mean, never connected. 7 years in Egypt, came to Australia 2004, tried to connect, couldn't. But 2016 when I went, bruh. First of all, the first thing that connected with me was the sun.
Yeah. I know, the kiss of the sun.
Yeah, it just hit me. And I'm like, oh man,
I'm home.
And that's one of the reasons why we call it blazing.
Fire. You know?
The kiss of the sun.
Yeah, and after that, it's just like the assimilation of the people. You know what I mean? You just kind of go in. Damn, like you just assimilate, nobody looks at you weird, apart from the clothing.
Yeah, I know you're wearing, yes.
And then you just kind of fit in, and then the sense of belonging, and also the language. The language for me was like a little bit, it was hard, but it was good because they were laughing at me, even though they're in the street.
I've been told by one of my cousins, you know, to literally be like, because I was trying my best to speak the home language.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, just stick to English.
even me, like, even me when I went, because there was a couple hometown girls.
Yeah.
When I actually when I actually trying to speak to them, because they get that tongue tied, and you couldn't even like say like I say hello. And then from there, they were like, you know,
how you say
it? True, but so it went from that continuation to actually trying to carry it out.
That's why they probably
but like, they were actually laughing at me because I couldn't say so much. Even my older brother that was walking with me, he actually cracked into just like bursting out, just laughing at me. I'm like, what are you doing? They have a conversation, and everyone was just like,
so the language, and also like I remember going to my hometown for the first time, and this is a funny story, no joke. It's a will, and apparently we all look alike, you know what I mean? And the names are similar, you know what I mean? So my name is D-I-N-G. And then there's the short one is like D-I-N-G. And the first time we were walking down the market, I keep hearing ding, ding, ding. And then I keep looking back and like, who's fucking calling me? And then it's like, man, this is your hometown. That's the name we have. We've got D, we've got Dang, we've got Tom, we've got Woe, we've got a cage. That's all we have. I'm like, shit, home. Like so yeah. So it was just kind of beautiful to be able to connect and realize this. So many names are very similar, and the sound of it is very, very different. And also knowing that you're from the same tribe, same family, and even though the names like similar, you connect. So yeah, man. So home. So for you, what home is?
Yeah.
Try to find it for yourself. Try to dig deeper into your own soul and try to find it. And before we go any further, me and Mac were just talking about some kind of deep emotions. And I'm sure all of you might connect with this one. And Albert, you just arrived out of nowhere.
Yeah, you just came out of nowhere. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Of course, always blending one, huh?
Yeah, we always have to make one. We always have to make one, blaze one.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
So what are emotions?
Yeah, so when is the first time you developed love for animals? Like a pet?
The dog. Mother.
I'm sorry, guys. Alright. Really? You see, this is the problem with the technology.
It's okay, you can take it off.
I'll put it somewhere next time. Sorry, guys.
When was the first time you built that connection with the animal, or like pet, more like dog or cat or
Anything?
anything in that nature? So start with you, as you got that interesting story, please.
I feel like I want to cry already. Well, not a lot of people know that. First of all, a lot of people, I'm going to just say bluntly, a lot of white folks don't think black people actually do love animals or even like care about them or even nurture them. But we do. And since we kind of like came from a rough, like a rough part of where we came from, doesn't mean that we never like had love or developed love for animal or pet. But like from my end, like we had a dog, a female dog that always comes to our house and just sit under a tree and just kind of relaxes and stay there all day. We give her food and everything. So that dog never chased us, never attacked us, never done anything wrong. So what happened? Like you asking that question, and before, as I was thinking, I'm like, damn. Like now I realize that dog went through a lot. Went through a lot. Never showed any kind of emotions. And then one time when a car hit her, and literally we dragged all the way further away from us, and then I'm like, damn, that dog is gone just like that, you know what I mean? And us as humans, we go through so many, but you see, there's a different when you see somebody's body and then an animal body that just kind of fade away, never been respected or anything like that. So just kind of seeing that dog's body just kind of fade away, I said to myself, I'm not gonna have any dog because I don't want to go through similar kind of emotions because it's so heavy. I didn't realize I had connected, with that dog, and she was very protective for our home. She cared, and also she never sleep at night because knowing that the thieves and whatnot comes, and then during the day that's when she actually sit and rest. So yeah, so that's like this. That was the first time. That was the last time, and then I'm trying to get a dog now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because man, it's important to develop a connection with an animal that you think that you don't care about. So yeah, that's me.
It's very deep.
Yeah, because the way things work. Because one of the things that when we think of how when humanity think of how intelligent we are, sometimes we don't actually understand what the actual intelligence part of something that is much bigger than us. And everything that within that nature, we are all is part of us. So the way we treat animals is actually do reflect back to us. So as Izzy was talking, it's one of those things that you listen to and you do, because I've been doing some research, and the way the world is going and the way that things are being mistreated, like especially like slaughterhouse. Around the world, they actually kill about like 76 million animals a year. The same thing with about like 65 million plants are being cut down. And then you look into the way that humanity is actually asking for peace, and how do we expect peace to actually come into fruition the way we treat the Mother Nature? And this is like, because this is actually a reflection of how we, because if you treat the environment that you are part of, you treat it with respect, you right to actually get what you giving out. The same thing with the universe. Everything that you do within yourself is actually the reflection of the universe outside. So we need to actually love and care for each other, because love will prevail. And love will open that 5-dimensional frequency where we can actually move above everything else. So love for everything around us will actually create that free flow, or the free flow of high frequency. And we'll get more into that later. So yeah, loving, because so love.
What? Yeah, got me emotional.
Man, I'm sorry.
Let's cry.
This is why this is blended by
But yeah, I mean, it's like you said, sometimes, thinking about it, you'd be like, I'll try not to cry, But mine, through when we get the chance ahead to tell our stories, you get to, I guess, hear why I connected with this particular animal, which was like a female cow, and was, it was all red, color, and in our language, red is Ika, you say Ika, that means red. So I named her like Ikali, meaning the red. So it had like big horns, and was one of the toughest, cows you ever meet around in the crowd. And it's actually the mother of we had I was grazing about more than 70 to 80 cows, But most of those cows actually came from this one there, her, because she was the mother, was the oldest. Anyway, to cut a long story short for now, is this cow, me and her connected so much that if anyone she didn't know anything, she would actually hit you, knock you down. But for me, I can literally go hold the head and hold the horns or whatever, would never do anything to me, just relax. And literally some days would walk to me and stand right next to me. And to get the milk from her, some people have to tie the legs before to get the milk, because otherwise we'll kick if I'm allowed to swear, the shit out of you. But for me, literally, I would go like, you have seen in the social media, a kid going and literally they're surfing there, I would literally do that to her. She would never, not even flinch or move any bit. But if anyone else comes around, that's a problem. So that's how deep we connected. And then through growing up, she became my, in other words, my bodyguard, Like I said, through the story here, I grew up in a little village where there was called Dravini, Uganda, which is not far from border of Congo and not far from South Sudan. And back then, if I can dive straight into my story, I guess, used to be a war, rebels around, they used to kill people, rob people, rape women, take pictures, child soldiers and all that. At nights, we used to, at night, not sleep inside the house. So we used to literally at night sleep in between animals or in the bush, because if you slept inside the house, you either get robbed, attacked, or beaten badly, That was the life growing up, every day you would hear, guns, sexual assaults or anything, Even at night, no car in that area. We have one of the main roads that connect another town to the other town, but by 5 p.m. onwards, you never see any car or anyone literally crossing the main stream that we normally go to or take the animals to drink water or whatever. No, that's how tough it was. But this animal was my protector, Every time I would always, if we had to sleep with them that night, if we can't sleep inside the house, she would be where I go, right next there. And I use her even sometimes as a pillow. Literally, I would put my head on her and she would not move. So it's just like, when I moved to the city, spiritually I would still think about her all the time until, when I heard she was really sick and then they were going to, slaughter her, blah, blah, because she was really sick. Literally, I cried tears, I was like, this is an animal, I wish could live longer, blah, blah, I understand, People, it's sick and people have to slaughter her or, either way she's gonna die, blah, blah. So I was like, that was like really strong connection, until now it's like, I still sometimes think about her, I'm just like, I wish, she was still there to welcome me home, But so that's the story. Yeah, that's my connection with that mom.
Well, just a moment of silence, for you, for us, because this is like a heavy story. That's the reason why we created this space for us to be able to literally allow those kind of stories to be captured and go out. Alright. Thanks for sharing and thanks for being with us, whoever's watching. And we'll try to bring it a little lighter. And the reason why we jump in here and there is because we need to find a free flow of how these things, it's going. It's trial and error. First, let's start. What is this story? What is this story that happened to you in New Zealand?
Okay. The story went like this, because when we arrived in New Zealand, because the language barrier was a little bit hard to comprehend and also to hold a conversation. And where we went and the place where the New Zealand government went and put us, after we stay in, there's a place, it's an orientation camp called Mangere. After we stayed for 6 weeks, we went into Wellington, the capital city, and the street where they put us was actually a street where there was some gangs. And these gangs were the local gangs, and we started as good, because they used that, because they considered themselves to be black, so we thought we vibing really good. So whenever my little two nieces, they will go out, like two nephews, they will go out, and then when they come back, because they were riding back to school, there will be these guys a bit older than them. They were trying to take their bikes. And literally like every day, and we'll have this argument, and it just start from there, from being just a little altercation to just actually became something that was just extended to the point where the police actually actually got involved. Which literally, even like our sponsor, that was actually the sponsor us to look after us. She got one time she was actually being sworn at, and she was actually cried.
Damn.
And then you get to that point like, you're supposed to come from, a place from what they call a war-torn country to something that was so peaceful, and you thought this was going to be actually peaceful. Yeah, but it turned out to be, so we lived there, so we spent like a month on that location, and it was just like, when you look back into Kakuma where I was, Kakuma was actually peaceful. Yeah, and then you compare it to this where people, hating you just because you're different. And even though they consider themselves black, you still didn't get to that point where you guys are actually connected. And you're like, they're brown and I'm black. We're technically brown came from black. But anyway, there should be like a bit of a connection. But in that, yeah, so we move on from there to a different, to a different street. Yeah, but like that was the story, but like it would get into a lot more deeper. Even my auntie used to get swear at by a little kid. And then you imagine like, back home, these things would never happen because back home, a kid would never open his mouth to an elderly or grown-up person to actually swear at. Yeah, because there's what you call a barrier of respect. Because a kid can run away from you if you want to actually beat a kid. And that's how far we're trying to avoid, the parent they're trying to beat him. And beat him or her. So that was the story, like when we first arrived in New Zealand, having a bit of altercation with the gangs and
Damn, man. I didn't realize you were gonna go into that direction because I wanted to be a
like one.
Yeah, like one. But that's cool, man. Since we there, because we've got the stories, and some of our young people need to know that we've been through it all, man. Like and for the white folks that are watching, it's just not happening just only to black people, also brown, yellow, whatever color.
I love it.
I'm trying to think.
Or are you like
Alright, cool.
It's too
I have, let's say, a couple of things that happened to me when I first moved here. Some are very funny, some you can take them the way you look at it, because if you look at it, some of them are, if quickly cut short, I'll tell you two. The first one, funny one is, in Uganda we all speak English, everything. We were colonized by Britain, so we speak actual English, everything at school is in English. So I came here, people were assuming, I don't know how to speak English. Sometimes at the shops you see people going like slow, like, do you understand me? And then you just go there like, who are you freaking talking to? That's the thing, here people assume every black person, or when you come from other places, you don't know how to speak English. And then you just be like, no, maybe even I know how to write or speak English better than you. But so anyway, I was in a bus and then these guys were trying to act like I don't know how to speak English. And then the funniest thing I find is that's the fun thing I started learning, that Australians love to say, mate. And then they're like, hey, mate. I was like, in my head, because in Uganda, mate is someone either you share housemate or classmate or workmate, not just some random person, you call a mate. And mate in Uganda has, I don't know, in my own English terms, I think a word mate has a connection to it. That means you're connected in a way. You're deep, deeper meaning whether you're working together as a workmate, Whether you're studying, for example, here, workmate or podcast mate, or living together, housemate. But you can't just find me on the street. You'll never see me and you call me a mate.
Exactly.
So I was like,
what's going on?
What's going on here? Yeah, like, why are you calling me a mate? Like, and then throughout staying, and then I've understood that it's actually a thing, like where everyone literally just calls each other mate, which I found it very funny. And then the other thing which was funny and sad at the same time is I came here packed. I was like, yeah, I'm going to, white people's land. I'm going to be happy, get treated well, because I know. And I grew up in a mission, where there's fathers. We have literally my grandfather or my great-grandfather had acres and acres of land. So we cut part of the land, gave it to church to build the church, schools and all that. But where the church is the mission is the head of the parish, the area. So there used to be white fathers around there, So we were getting along with these white fathers, everything, treated every black, well, and then they were being treated like even kings. They would get things for free, blah blah, So we were, with these small whites, every time we see them in the country, in the area, they're really friendly. So in my head, I came to Australia assuming every white person is gonna be fucking awesome, and
blazing.
I know it's gonna be blazing and be like, hey, you're welcome, yeah.
Welcome, mate.
Bro, yeah, I know. But only to find out, my first few months in Australia, bro, I got called monkey, I got called like, go back to your country, fucking black or whatever, And then when it comes to summer, they straight away assume that, you're used to the sun. You're used to the sun, you like people see when it's freaking 40 or 38 degrees, people see you, like white people see you and be like, yeah, man, you're used to this, it's not hot for you. And you go like, you really know where I come from, Like, I thought white people were maybe smart, but then it turns out most of them don't even know their history, they don't even study, they don't know what's going around the world. They assume Africa is all hot. And then, some of them assume Africa is one country, and then you literally look like, you'll be like, oh, now I think I'm about somewhere. But the truth is, you guys haven't been to Uganda maybe, but people who have been to Uganda, or anyone watching, whether white, whether black, or orange, green, who have been to Uganda.
As long as it's made.
Should know that Uganda is actually one of the green countries in Africa. A lot of water bodies, a lot of rainforests, a lot of mountains. Meaning,
Lake Victoria.
The air is always cool. The air is always cool. And I grew up in a border of Kenya and Uganda, in a mountain called Mount Elgon. So where that place used to rain almost every day, sometimes you would stay 3 days to 4 days without seeing a sun, you just see clouds. That's where I come from. So personally, for anyone who doesn't know, I actually hate summer. I prefer anything under 30 downwards, good for me. But anything above 30, trust me, I hate it.
Yeah.
That's me. So don't assume every black person loves the summer.
Exactly.
So never assume, they say never judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
Until you read the contents inside first, and then you'll start judging the book.
Yeah. What a word of wisdom. We've got a couple more, and then we're gonna go to that. But well, I've got a funny story, and then I've got a sad story.
In life,
the first story.
That's it.
It's quick and short and very nice. First day coming to Australia. My uncle, sent me to the shop with his son. He's like, you guys go to the shop and look for something called yogurt. I
already imagined where I ended up.
I'm yo, get like, all right. So I asked him, I'm like, do you know the word? He's like, yeah, he spoke in English. I'm like, oh, this guy is already assimilated. So I'm like,
he's already expert.
Yeah, then I had like that African mentality where they tell you something,
you read it, you pitch it over. I remember those days they used to send you for Panadol when you were younger. You sing Panadol all the way to the clinic. Panadol. And then one thing slightly distracts you. That's it.
You lose it all.
Literally, that's what was happening. That was happening in my mind. And we were walking, man. You know, that time we lived in north sunshine. So we were walking during the school holidays. I didn't know fucking road rules. And I'm like, I just stopped.
I've been there.
I stopped. And then there's a car stopped. And then I asked him, like, why this car stopped? He's like, we want us to cross. I'm like, what? This is amazing. Cross the road. Just like before one became the president, I was like, oh yeah. And then that thing stayed in my head. Yeah. Anyway, we went to the shop. No, we were just looking for this goddamn yogurt. We were looking. Of course, I couldn't read what yogurt is. And then this guy kept telling me, is this yogurt? Pounds of sugar, fucking oil. This yogurt. We went to the milk place, this yogurt. And then it's like, it's just there. I'm like, why you didn't like take it before? And it's like, because you were pointing some things and I thought you were gonna pick something up. I'm like, no, I'm pointing so you can make sure this is the
correct thing.
This is the one. I'm like, all right, cool. Anyway, went to the counter. This is what the story lies. So went to the customer service. And, they've got this wheelie thing. You put your shops.
Oh, you was showing the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And put the yogurt there. And just like standing in the line. This shit just went boom. I'm like, when you tell me the whole shop was laughing at me and shit. I'm like, what the hell?
That yogurt I looking for it for a long time. You're not gonna take it like that.
Man, did I ever go to that place again?
You got an African background.
So that was that. And then the bad one was when we were in language school, and then anyway, there was a couple of people who came to us and they were interviewing us, talking to us about home, young people, this and that. And then we had like one of our friends who was like our translator, because he spoke English and stuff. We tell him something and then he tells us to Kawajat means white. And then and I'm like, why are these people asking us like some tough questions like back then like mental health and all of these things? We're like, no, we're fine, we're good.
Okay.
So we were taken out of the class to go and spend some time with these guys. And then when we come back to the class, we're already behind. And I felt like from that moment, we've been separated from being educated, just like everybody else. Because our time was just wasted, our time being taken away by some people we don't know where they take this information to or from who or whatever it is, without even like giving us acknowledgement. So to me, it was just like kind of going in my head. I'm like, no, I want to be in a class. I want to learn how to write my name. So I want to learn how to say this is where I'm from. I want to learn how to write my address. All of this stuff. But so I didn't like the education system here at all because it didn't look at us as we were about to learn. Because I'm like, why they take a group of people, put them into this like weird class we don't even know, so they were studying us instead of us studying the books that they're supposed to give us. So to me, I already saw a clear separation from the start, and that kind of made me really, really angry. and also optimistic, and also just to kind of challenge myself in my mind. And thank God, I find like art, and this is what we're gonna be talking about like soon. I find art as a way to kind of like speak, express myself, and just do things differently. But to be honest, like there was I'm not really sure what's it called, but I finally realized there was like kind of a racism within the way we were studying, the separation. So yeah, so I didn't like that about my school at all, and I had to like kind of learn by myself, find my own way, and now I'm just kind of like going back into that academic mind, try to you know bring that, and I'm gonna go through it.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I'm sure like for a lot of like young people out there, and for whoever just went through it, just make sure you keep your brain or keep your mind above the water. And to be honest, education is a lonely road. I learned it from you, man. Gee, I've been reading books from this guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, can I just say something?
yeah.
And just to put things in perspective, Africa is the first country or the first continent, and the rest followed because the whole generation of human history actually started in Africa. So don't ever put Africa as a third world continent or country. Just it's the first. Just want to put it out there.
The rest first.
Yeah, no, because they always say you from a third world country.
Yeah, the first world country.
Never take that as something that is that's an insult if they ever called you from a third world country. Because you never. Africa has always been the first. It will always be.
Um,
Yeah, what's your favorite role model? Whether it be in acting in like an acting business or like the people that you follow through media or or entertainment industry. So
that's a huge thing. But what? I give you what?
give us two.
I give you two.
Yeah, since you said it's
Alright, thank you for making it much easier for me. You know.
quite welcome, bro.
Thanks for being so blazing.
Oh,
That's a catchy phrase.
That's a catching phrase for now, you know. If you ever have someone that's be like, you're so blazing today, you know. And then let them go like, what? What are you talking about? You know?
yeah, this is what.
Yeah, mate. You're blazing, mate. Anyway, I don't know if I remember, you know, if it's in acting wise, you know, I can say, you know, Sylvester Stallone is one of my biggest, let's say, actors, you know, and as a young kid, you know, I've always dreamt of being an actor, and I used to watch movies, you know, and then mainly, you know, John Rambo 1, John Rambo 2, you know, you watch those movies, you know, you always be like, I want to be like Rambo, you know, when you're playing games, you be like, I want to be like I'm Rambo, you know, even when you're playing small fights, you be like, I'm Rambo, you know, and then that one will be like, I'm Jack Chan, you know, and you'll be like, yeah. But that is, you know, how I started loving acting, you know, I was like, you know what, you know, I want to do acting, you know. But in Africa, of course, you know, in Uganda, the chances of becoming an actor or whatever were very, very narrow, you know, very slight. So it was just, to me back then, it was just like a dream that I would never achieve, you know, it was just like something, yeah, you know, in your head, you know, one of those dreams, you know, there you cannot achieve them sometimes, but you just dream to, or you wish, you know. That was actually my wish, you know. Back then, I did not even know it was gonna come a true thing, you know. So when I came to Australia, that was what was in my mind the first thing. I'm like, right now I'm in, you know, whatever they call, you know, developed country or whatever, you know, white people's country. I'm like, know what? I'm going to make sure I achieve my acting. So that's when I got my first. I mean, it's funny, it's great, it's, some people have different opinions about it. And I don't know if I'm gonna get in, I don't know, acting has a lot of confidentiality, stuff, but, I got my first role as, in a show called, for some of you who don't know me or whatever, I did a show, I was involved in a show called Jermaine Private School Girl, with the Chrissy Lily, and that was my first thing, and it was straight away main one and big one. I was like, yes, I put the nail on the, is it the, how do they call it? On the coffin or whatever, yeah. So this is what I need to carry on. So as soon as I got that role, I was like, yep, this is achievable. Until now, even though I haven't got much other roles, coming up, or I'm still working hard to get there, maybe, but I assume one day I'll get there. I never give up. So that's one of my role models, Sylvester Stallone, or if I can put another name, Jack Chan, because I watched all those movies. Of course. And then the other biggest role model I have is, a family member. One of my, let's I can say my number one role model is of course my mom. My mom.
Shout out to her.
Shout out to mom. I love my mom. I never, I can tell you personally, I never actually grew up with my mother. I never actually had the luxury of growing up with the mother or having parents' love. And for you too, you who you don't know out there, you blaming yourself. I have never actually met my dad. I don't even know who the heck is my dad. So, but to cut long story short, my mom had me when she was very young, like possibly 15 or 16. So I'm a kid of a teenage, mom. But she never gave up, she went out to look for better lives, to always work harder to create a better life for me. And she's not even educated, she literally finished. For African people, they will understand what P5 means, so she dropped out of literally primary 5, So, but she went out there, worked so hard, did, working in hotels or restaurants or whatever, until, through her own way, she got lucky, the chance to come down here to Australia, which she came in 2005 or 4, about there. And after that, she always been working hard to bring me here to be, open for me doors as well. So that's why my own mom, is one of my number one role models. I look up to her. She changes, every day I look at her and that's like, I don't know how to appreciate her. I don't know how to thank her. I feel like everything I'm doing is not enough to show her appreciation, to thank her for, always being, whether she wasn't there physically there, but she has always been there mentally, spiritually, supporting me throughout everything. And I am who I am today because of her. So, yeah.
I don't believe in the word role model. I don't believe in it.
That's why for me, that's why I said my mother is my number one. Because other role model like acting or whatever, I just call them motivators. I don't literally, they're just people.
Or inspirational.
Yeah, inspirational people, not really role models. Because the word role model to me means a huge thing. That's why I said my mother's my number one of my family, is like the role model I can look up.
I'm trying to figure out, man, but I think my grandmother definitely, she influenced me a lot. She gave me a lot of influence. Her kindness, the way she speaks, the way she catered for people, and also the way she handled pressure. It's just amazing. And also censor people, energy and behavior without even like judging them or without like pushing them away, but come down to mutual understanding, you know. So like my grandmother definitely like my grandmother definitely has like
He's talking about vodka, really?
yeah, soon.
We're speaking of soon.
I wonder why you stored words. Yeah, carry on, guys.
So my grandmother got a lot of influence of my upbringing and her support through the years, you know, without her having her husband there, you know, just supporting her children, supporting my mom, and then her grandchildren, and also her being in Australia with us. She gives me a lot of wisdom and a lot of courage to just kind of keep going and never give up. And sometimes like, hey man, imagine if she won with us, then my life will completely change. It will be completely opposite. And also I won't have I won't have dreams or goal to kind of reach at all. So yeah, definitely my grandmother. And then outside of that, my mom as well, she's a brave woman. Her influences is just, she's hard-headed, you know.
Of course, you need that in your life sometimes, you know.
She's like, man, if you started something, you gotta finish it. So in that, I've learned that from my mom. And then, of course, like the soft side, which is I never had, which is my dad. And I don't know what that side looked like. So I created my own shield, I created my own path, and I created my own understanding of how to just be a man, but kind of observe the woman that brought me, that brought me up, which is my grandmother and my mom. So yeah, so to them, they're my best friends too, they're cool. And also they supported me in whatever that I want to do. And outside of that, man, I'm trying to think, man. Like everybody tried to make me equivalent to Spike Lee or this person that. I'm like, I cannot connect with these people. You know what I mean? But I think when I was a kid, they used to call me what's the Spanish Raúl? Yeah, Raúl Gonzalez. Because my favorite number was number 7. And every time I play soccer, I put number 7 and they call me Raúl Gonzalez. And then every time a Spain play, I watch him. Every time Real Madrid play, I watch him. And then when he left, that was it. I never had a role model to follow after that. But so I'm just like following my own intuition. And I wish for people out there, do not follow anybody's, like, I don't know, path. Create your own path. Yeah, you can watch, you can align yourself with their vision or whatever it is, but dig deep within yourself and find something that actually works for you.
Don't ever try to be like them.
Yeah,
be
just
who you wanna be, and that's it.
Yeah, just be you. So trying to figure out the role model that I see, it's me. And then the role model that I saw last weekend is these guys. So thank you, and I appreciate you for actually like make this dream come true, because those are the role models that will actually create something and makes it work. When someone clicks with you, that's a role model right there. So you guys are a role model. So cheers.
Cheers, mate.
For blazing fire.
Where's your cheers, mate? You don't give blazing fire, brothers at all.
Like for me, it would be my auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah, my auntie, she's in Vinegar right now. She's one of the strongest women you could possibly meet. Like to me, she's my superwoman because the way she does, the way she worked. Like she used to make those what do you call it? She used to make wine, and she used to sell it just to feed us. And was in her in early 20s, and she used to do that. And in Kakuma, anyone that who was in Kakuma knows how hard the Kakuma is, and the little ration that we used to get from the United Nations is very, very small, or UNHCR, and very small. And she used to go out in her ways just to make this wine, or you can put it in any possible way, translation you can have. And she will do that just to make sure she buy like the school exercises, pencils, and the school shoes for us to go to school for. And when you look at the people that so, because to me I don't see her as like a role model. I see her as an influence and upbringing person that just being there to just always guide you, bring you up, and it's just she always been there like a rock for me, like ever since. So she's one of my biggest role models. No matter where I go in life, she always gonna be like my top number one, no matter what. Even I had my mom and dad, but her, she's my number one right there. There's nothing can knock her on that top pedestals. And then if you look on the outside of that, I have Dr. York, which is some other people would know who's Dr. York is Malachi York L. And him, to me, because when I left school, I didn't know much about how I was going to survive and what the outsiders look like. But because when you ask the universe, or you pray to the universe and you ask, like, now I'm just about to finish school and I have not understand, which is the word understanding is something that it should be is one of those wrong words that
we should overstand.
Because if you stand under something, meaning you still haven't have a clear vision of what you actually have. So you have to understand and overstand. So now you have a clear vision of what you actually after. So I was used to ask myself so much, please universe, give me something that I can always look into, or I don't use mentor, a teacher or a spiritual teacher that can guide me to where I want to be. And then I was listening to some, because I'm a poet, so I listen to a lot of musicians, especially the underground hip hop, and the way they tell their stories. And I was listening, I was watching a video from The Lost Children of Babylon, and on the intro of the music video was a picture of Dr. Malachi York L. And then I watched the whole video. It's about like 7 minutes long. And then just, I don't know why and what, there was a connection, and just through that picture. And then I went back to the actual beginning of the song. Then I actually write down the name, and I listened to some of his lectures. And ever since, I have learned so much, because I have learned how old is our planet Earth, and the species, and also how old is our sun, and the distance from here to our suns. And recently, the scientists actually just figured out like there's about 1 billion galaxies just in our solar system, and they've been lying so much about it. So 90% of what the scientists are telling you is actually lies. But anyway, back to role model. So Dr. York has been a person that showed me so many ways. I have read so many, like about 50% of his books. I have read over and over again, just to understand who I am, and also the sign of healings and what it means to be a black person. And so from people from New Zealand that used to know me back then, because my time wasn't that actually, the language was but like now, hopefully they can understand me a lot more better, because they used to give me a second lesson. It's one of those like, what did you say? So I'm just So yeah, Dr. York has been a person that opened my my third eye, if you may put it that way. So has given me so much to understand, like whether you're talking about extraterrestrial, you're talking about the the sign and the creation and how this universe was created, was I learned it through him. And yeah, the last book I read was it's
Okay,
The
to make it simple for you,
it's
I know
Valentine's.
you read a lot of books.
Yeah.
What book did you read last night? I know you always reading books. Books. Yeah, books, not just book.
Yeah, I'm reading ISIS paper by Dr. Frances Wallace. So I actually just started. She's one of our female scientists as well. She's a doctor, and she's been writing quite a few papers as well, and she got quite a lot of what you call YouTube videos that you can actually watch if you want to know a little bit more about it.
What was the name?
Dr. Frances Wallace. And yeah, so and also she did a lot of debating in Philip Donahue show that was a while back. So you can actually search her names on YouTube. You can actually watch her, and yeah. So that was the book that I read, and also Valentine by Dr. York, as well as breaking down the fallacies of holiday that people celebrate, which they have no history of what they actually meant. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well. Oh man, the last book that I read. So I've just been reading two books at the same time. I don't know. And I never read books since, I don't know, since like the lockdown last year. You know what I mean? But now I'm just started like kind of getting into it. Since last week we tried to come up with a blazer challenge. So I was reading this book called Social Structure. I don't know the person's name, so I think that's something that I need to learn. So for all of you who want to kind of read, so read the title, read the person who's written it, and probably some quotation from them. Then yeah, but to me, so when I was reading that book, there's something kind of stuck to me. It says there's two things. There's a social problem, and then there's the social issues. And then what's the difference between social problem and social issues? So I kind of dived deeper into it, and then I started to realize the social problem is what's happening in our society, and then the social issue is just happening to the individual, whether they want to commit suicide or whether they want to go into alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, or self-harm. So and then I'm like, damn man, so we in society, and then I broke it down into social and structure. So in turn that it's all part of a group, and then it's a group, and as I was just kind of reading, I'm just like, damn man, this is crazy. So open the books, stick to one word, that you get from the first page, and try to ask a question. Why the hell that you're reading that book first, and then give it a chance and just keep going deeper. So I fall in love with that, and then outside of that, I find this guy's name Carl Jung. It's like from the 70s. He's a scientist. Yeah, Carl Jung, CL.
His name rings a bell.
Yeah, AR Jung, JUN. Yeah. So man, so he just started. His book is all about social behavior, knowing yourself, and then how you dream and how you get into I don't know, man. You just gotta yourself dive into yourself and be spiritual. So yeah, so those two books I've been reading, then they're literally like opening my mind and definitely it's just kind of it makes me addictive. It's like drugs, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I want to know some kind of words, man.
Some things are addictive. Like speaking of books, I said books, but I did read for my, your degree.
Yeah.
I read some, was it journal?
Yeah, journal.
Yeah, journal. Yeah. Was just like, I'm doing, Bachelor of Community Development, and I was reading this journal about, strength-based practice, and then there was the other title, and then where, I was reading it, I read the first page. I'm normally good at reading things, the whole thing. I'm someone, especially for educational use, I'm someone who I call, run through, read through. I'm a selective reader. That's what I call. Yes, scan through. So I'm only someone who reads quickly through the page. If I find an information I need, that's when I'll, highlight that for my, referencing and, connecting to my assignment. But this book, this journal I read was just like, when I read the first page, I was like, damn, this sounds so good. I went to the second page, I was like, yeah. Out of nowhere, I spent almost 2 hours sitting there reading the whole journal.
That's what reading does.
I was like, this book, this journal was talking about power with, not power over. And then I was like, as a community development practitioner, I was like, this is exactly what you need as a youth work or community development, But
that is how I've been feeling.
Yeah,
it's a weird ass feeling, but it's very hard to get into though. It takes time.
I'll find for you youth workers or community development or social workers out there, I'll find the exact title of the journal and who did the journal. Maybe in our next time I'll tell you that will be the first thing. You to remind me, that will be the first thing. I think I printed it out somewhere in one of my bags. I'll come with it and you can have a read. You know what, you tell us what you think of it. It's actually amazing.
Alright.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and just for the wrap up and stuff, just a few words. Like there's something that everyone, especially in the black community, can you tell us a word of wisdom, or what can you tell to the young people? We don't want to tell anything to the young people. The thing that we want to tell to the people out there in our society, maybe I should start and then
kick it off.
Kick it in.
Alright, so basically, like through so through the pandemic, I know that a lot of us, spend more time with their families, with their friends, with their pets, with themselves, and also not yet finding themselves. You know what I mean? So, like for me, literally, I found myself, and I said that this year I'm gonna buy myself free through education. So, for you out there, try to buy yourself somehow to be free. Whether through wealth, or whether through outside knowledge, or self-knowledge, or getting some kind of education, or read books, or whatever it is, to buy yourself free. And specifically for our people, start from the grown one to the young one, help one another, and support one another, so we can support this society. Yeah.
No. Come on. No, we can't just skip you. It doesn't work that way. It's like, no.
It's blazing.
It's blazing.
No blazing.
Blazing over.
No, it's burning fire.
Our logo is weird, man. It's like the sun and then there's water.
So we just put some colors in it.
Come on, Frank. Oh, you out there can, if you see our logo looks like, maybe you can come up with what design colors you want in.
Yeah.
So it's called the Blazing Fire. Design the logo.
Blazing Sun.
And then you send it to us. On our Instagram.
Yeah.
Is there Facebook page too or no?
No, it's Instagram.
Just Instagram.
So you just look below here. The blazing, not the blazing, the pot. The blazing pot.
Yeah.
This is our Instagram.
Alright. For me, what I can say is, I don't know, just find something, throughout the, pandemic. I was lucky, or I am lucky to still be working because, I'm a youth worker and a disability support worker and then studying as well. But, one thing I just found that kept me going is, I guess, it's just, I guess, in other words, is my daughter. It's just like, she's, in other words, that's why when talking of inspiring or role models, I was a bit static who to choose from, because there was my daughter, there's my mom, and then there's my auntie who also is the, other words, my auntie, I call her my hero. One day, we have run out of time, but there's a reason why. One day I might tell you the reason why I call her my hero, But anyways, like, my daughter, both of you already know what my daughter is going through, and for you listeners out there, the blazers out there who don't know, in short terms, I have a daughter and my daughter has a, brain tumor and she's had 2 surgeries in her life already and she just turned 3 not long ago and she's still going through a lot. But one thing that got me inspired me and got me through the pandemic and to work really hard is you look at my daughter every day, she gives me energy that you look at her, you think she has nothing, medical conditions that are delaying her, development or anything, She's just like every day. And then during pandemic is when my first, word from her, like daddy came from, like one day I rocked up to see her and then she ran to me, daddy. I was like, I just froze there for a few seconds. I was like, did she actually call me that? I literally asked the mother, I was like, did she actually call me daddy or that was a different word? And then the mother's like, yeah, actually she just called me daddy. I was like, man, I literally had tears running through my eyes. But what I'm trying to say is, like you said, find something that, gets you going. Whether it's, working with family, whether it's someone in the family that inspires you, whether it's a book, whether it's your work, you love your work, whether it's the school, find something to keep your mind busy. Don't wait for someone to, And one thing in our community, like you said about working together, is sometimes we like putting each other down. We need to stop doing that, If we have, for example, something like this, I'm sure there are people out there who will be criticizing us, of course.
Yeah,
but
we love them. Yeah.
Actually, I'm built with the, let's say haters. I actually love my haters. Because my haters actually make me better. Because when someone hates you, it's like coming back to, sorry if I'm taking too long, coming back to, the color thing, the racial thing. The reason why these days, for you young, African or black or yellow, whatever, men who feel like you are experiencing racism out there, you should actually be very, very proud of your color, because for even you, I'm sorry, to put it blunt out there, for you white folks who are watching right now, the reason why I say I'm proud, I no longer actually take anything against as a racism is, if white people hate black people, why do you think every day they go to the sun and want to get tanned? That's one question. Two, why do you think now there's fake machines out there getting people tanned into like brownish or dark or whatever? Because they want to be like us, but they can't. That's why they cannot. That's why they hate us more, because they're trying to be like us, but they can't.
Secret.
Yeah, it's a secret. That's what makes me so proud. I'm like, when someone is being racist, that literally, when someone calls me names, I'll be thank you. Thank you. I will literally smile. I'm like, thank you. Because I know I'm unique.
I got you.
Unique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then two, they hate Africa, who are saying Africa is the first continent. If you look at how many continents are out there,
I think 7.
about 7. Most of the continents have white people, yellow people. Why is Africa the only continent that has black people?
The word racism, to me, is actually the actual definition of word racism is a business competition, in a way that if you want to put it in a business sort of way. Because if you actually put it in a way that if you hated a person just because of his skin color, it doesn't actually state that it's racism. It's actually a prejudice, or you have a discrimination against that person because you heard it become like a personal reference sort of thing. And for me, haters, it doesn't actually, it's more like it inspires me a lot more. So it's more like saying, it's more like giving me a hit up, and I say that, oh, thank you so much for, like, now, I'm just gonna work a lot more harder just to actually, I'm just gonna blaze a lot more.
Yeah, blazing.
Yeah, just
Keep the fire burning.
and just keep that blazing burn to the point that you're just gonna shine a lot more.
Yeah.
So to me, I can't let anybody allow to dictate how my inner feelings, how I react. Because if you allow a person to say something and then you react, you become a reactionary, and that person has a way to push a button and control you. So don't let your emotion be controlled by somebody else knowing how to push a button. So please learn to control your emotion. And also, if you want to learn how to know your inner self, you can either meditate or read some books if you want to learn a lot more studies. And one of the other things, just before we finish, we just have a conjunction when Jupiter and Saturn was actually a lot more closer. And that was ushering in the Aquarius cycle, which is the last cycle on equinox. Which, by the way, I actually gave it to a person. Yeah, I wrote on Instagram. I wrote it to a person, and I said, this about ancient science, but the person didn't get the whole thing. So the reason why I'm trying to say it now is just because if you ever watch the podcast, the equinox is a conclusion of 6 times 4. You get the 24,000 because 6.
Man, we wanna get the knowledge too, man.
Yeah. So you get the 24th. That's a complete of equinox, and that would come back. So that's when the sun go around the sun. And so we're on our last cycle of equinox, and this last cycle is the sun, where the sun is going to be a lot more closer to the earth. And that is so, for the black people, it's going to actually give them a lot more power, and also give them a lot more, so it's going to actually erase, there's going to be a lot more awakening. So this thing is not to shape, to try to be this and that, but this is what, there's a lot of uprising right now. And so there's a lot more that I can explain about, the the cycle that just happened, and also the connection to the coronavirus, because the coronavirus bring it in, as a way, because the Mother Nature, as she is at her last cycle, so she trying to find a way to cleanse herself. So with all of these diseases, pestilence and whatnot, this is her way of saying that, the humanity has been given a way to actually be in peace with the other animals, but we have not been in peace since the last time we were here. So we've been creating so many problems. So these diseases, even though it is a man-made sort of disease, but it was an idea that was given to because we're part of that nature that we are all in. So just remember the environment that you are in, you're part of that. And just like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to actually blaze this.
For being blazing and keep blazing, brothers and sisters.
So there's so much that is going to come out. And also we would like to challenge young one, even the older one out there too, to just start grabbing it. Like, it doesn't really have to be like a massive big book. There's so many ways that you can actually, now there's audiobook that you can actually listen to. You don't have to read a book. So you can actually put it on and go for a walk. And right there, that can be, that's a way to learn information too. So everything can be made accessible to everyone. There's so many ways you can find information. So I
always challenge yourself.
Yeah, so be make sure you move out of your comfort zone. Move to the zone that you feel uncomfortable, and a zone that actually make your heart beat more faster. So you get that a bit of information. So it's a new way of learning.
Yeah.
So,
all right, cool. Yeah, just like to kind of wrap it off, and I really like the last word. Get out of your comfort zone. We got out of our comfort zone, and this is our first Blazing Fire episode. So I just want to say thank you so much for you watching out there. Please go and follow our social media, Instagram, and subscribe.
And also on YouTube.
Yeah, also on YouTube. Yeah, this is supposed to be YouTube.
I see you.
I can see you right there. All right. So again, my name is Ez. This is Albert and McQueen. We'd like to thank you, and until next time, take care and read books.
Be alchemist.
Blaze.